10 signs of depression that should never be ignored. There are so many different signs of depression, which means it sometimes continues until the indications form a pattern. A person can have one or more of these signs of depression. People who may be suffering from depression or manic disorders actually exhibit or show each and every kind of symptom of depression that doctors will tell you that depressed people have. There are actually a lot of symptoms of depression that depressed people may actually possess, but they don't have to suffer from each and every one of them before you actually help them get diagnosed and be treated for this illness. It is extremely difficult to recognize the difference between everyday stresses and anxieties, and actual depression. There are various forms of depression, and the underlying causes may go back to the past and a person's childhood. You need to assess your emotions, which may include stress, worry and anxiety, and if you feel that it is a little too frequent, then maybe it would be a good idea to do a depression test. Each person reacts differently, and no two cases are identical. Identifying your emotions will give you an insight as to whether you should see your doctor, particularly if you have panic attacks frequently. A depression test will help you to decide whether it is necessary to visit your doctor, who will be able to refer you to a physiotherapist so that you will get the help you need. By taking a depression test, you will be able to identify your symptoms, because many people do not know that their feelings and thoughts are bordering on the morbid and that they are in a state of depression. Their life is slowly becoming different, and it could be due to a variety of factors. Also, since symptoms of depression actually vary, the time of their attacks varies as well. Sometimes it's actually quite easy to overlook such symptoms and not be able to help oneself or others who are suffering from depression for that matter. There are actually a lot of symptoms of depression that depressed people may actually possess. The sooner you recognize depression in yourself or someone else, the sooner you can get treatment. Depression needs to be treated whether it's mild or severe or anything in between the extremes. Depression doesn't disappear on its own and will only get worse. There are some basic and common signs of depression. They include the following: no feelings of self-worth or low self-esteem. Don't like to be around other people, which can include family. Anticipate doing anything, including enjoyable events. Feelings of hopelessness, feeling sad all the time, suicidal thoughts, inability to make any decisions. Sleeping too much or not enough. Crying all the time, prolonged period of sadness or not feeling up to it. People who are always feeling not in the mood, who'd rather mope around the house and feel sorry for oneself, is the best example for this symptom of depression. It's natural to feel sad for a few days or to have stressful days. It's normal to have some days when life may seem a little harder than you think it should be. It's not normal to be sad for longer than 2 weeks. Constant fatigue. Another common symptom of depression is being the perennial pessimist. Those who show this symptom of depression are usually very negative about things. Guilt-driven, loss of self-worth and helplessness. Other symptoms of depression that can be easily seen on people who prefer to mope around all day long are these. Whenever a person feels so guilty over something, that actually makes one a very sad person who feels like he or she doesn't deserve to be happy or enjoying oneself, then that's clear telltale symptom of depression. Depression is something entirely different. It's not natural to feel you are worthless or that people in your life wouldn't miss you if you were to disappear. The signs of depression can be very noticeable in many cases. Helplessness also contribute to being depressed. When assuming that things won't simply go your way, it's already a clear saying that you have absolutely no hope in your body at all. Someone who is depressed may cry a lot for no apparent reason. In severe cases, a person may refuse to get out of bed. In milder cases, the person might be unable to make the simplest decision. People with depression can have trouble functioning at work or at home. Other signs of depression may not be severe and are harder to identify. For example, you can experience depression triggered by an event such as a death in the family or loss of a job. It can be a real shock, and not everyone is able to adjust well. You might still appear to function normally, but the signs of depression are there. You might cry at the most unexpected times or begin a spiral into despondency that makes you unable to function eventually. On the other hand, bipolar disorder has very obvious symptoms. While in a euphoric state, bizarre behavior such as making obviously foolish and harmful decisions becomes apparent. While in a depressed state, the person feels hopeless and all the frenetic activity stops. This happens over and over again and can even happen within a day. The key to identifying if someone is depressed is to watch for patterns or continual worsening of suspect symptoms. If this goes on for longer than 2 weeks, you should get professional help for you or your friend or family member. So many people put an extra strain on themselves by getting into tasks that they take upon themselves, and this naturally leads to stress. It is not only a strain on the body but it affects the mind as well. In severe cases it could lead to a nervous breakdown. For such people, there is help that they can seek and they can avail of this treatment for anxiety depression. People who are stressed out because of undertaking a whole bunch of activities which they find difficult to cope with display certain nervousness and behavior that is erratic. They indulge in mood swings as pressure builds up. They need to relax more frequently and face things in a composed manner in order to retain their sanity. In order to treat yourself, you need to make a self-analysis of your thoughts and behavior so that you can consult with a therapist and get yourself the right cure. Depression treatment, helping someone else. If someone you love is suffering from depression, it is only natural to want to help. Family members can provide an incredible amount of support for someone suffering from this illness. However, you must know how to be effective. If not, the family member could end up doing more harm than good. The first thing you should do is read everything you can about depression and its treatments. Being forewarned is being forearmed. By making yourself knowledgeable, you can help make decisions when perhaps the loved one isn't in a fit state to do so. You should also read up on how your loved one will feel. Getting as much insight as possible as to what depression will do to this person will help you cope with the worst days. You have to keep in mind that caring for a depressed person is very draining both physically and emotionally. You need to set aside time for yourself. You won't be any use to your loved one if you are tired and stressed out. Talk about what you are going through with someone who understands or even join a support group. Take some time to enjoy yourself as well. Don't let your loved one's depression take over your life as well. Depressed people do need lots of love and support. You don't want to smother them, but you need to be there when they need it most. Knowing they can rely on you will help them get through some of the darkest moments. Don't deny your own feelings. There will be times when you're feeling angry and frustrated. You need a support network to help vent these feelings out. A good friend or a support group again can be a great source of comfort. How to win your war against depression. Depression treatment. Talking therapies. Dealing with depression is difficult and draining. It puts stress and strain on the life of the depressed person as well as those close to him or her. Many types of therapies may have to be tried and tested before any improvement is seen. One such possibility is talk therapy. Talking therapies can be of a great help when it comes to treating depression. It involved various types of counseling with a psychologist, psychiatrist or therapist. Talking therapies allow the depressed person to get their feelings out. They also allow for the two people to work together to try to find the root cause for their depression. Talking therapies do vary but most involve the same key elements. First, there is the listening session. The therapist listens to the person's problems. Over time, the person develops a relationship with the therapist where they feel they are understood. Next, there is the emotional release. This is helpful but cannot be done too often. Letting the emotions out too often can have the opposite effect and lead to further depression. Next comes the advice and guidance. The patient may be able to seek the answers on their own through session and homework. Finally, there is information provided. They are giving information in small bits, but as progress is made it can be increased. Depressed people can sometimes have poor concentration and memory, so information is given carefully. Talking therapies can be very effective in treating depression, but they do take time. Several sessions may be required and the patient's family may have to be involved. Talking therapies can help mild to moderate depression greatly, however severe cases of depression will usually need a combination of talk and medication. How to win your war against depression. Natural cure for depression. Some people absolutely refuse to take prescriptions medications unless it's a matter of life and death. Instead, they prefer to try a natural cure for depression. There are many natural treatments that people have tried in an attempt to deal with depression. Whether they work has not been scientifically documented in some cases, while others are known to be beneficial. A natural cure for depression is one that doesn't rely on prescription medications as a solution. Instead, you may decide to try an herb or supplement or make dietary changes. Other natural cures involve learning relaxation techniques or massages to relieve stress. Whatever natural cure for depression you decide to use, it's still important to keep your doctor informed. Depression is a serious illness and nothing to take lightly. Your doctor can help you monitor your progress while using natural treatment alternatives. You have a choice for a natural cure for depression. Actually, most people use more than one method. One of the commonly used treatments is herbs and supplements. St. John's wort is considered to work as a natural antidepressant in cases of mild depression. It's an ancient perennial that's been used for centuries in alternative medicine treatments. One thing to always keep in mind is that herbs can interact with prescription medicines. That's a good reason why you should always make sure your doctor knows what you are taking as supplements. Another natural cure for depression people try is taking vitamins and minerals. One of the symptoms of depression is a radical change in weight. When you aren't getting proper nutrition, the problem only worsens. Also, depression affects concentration, and some vitamins and minerals are considered to be mental aids. These include vitamin B and folic acid. Yet another natural cure for depression is changing dietary habits. Turkey, for example, has an amino acid which assists the production of serotonin. Other foods include milk and potatoes. You can also eat foods high in omega-3 fatty acids such as soybeans and fish. All of these foods can aid with the brain's chemical production, ensure you are getting proper nutrition, and hopefully decrease depression. How to win your war against depression. There are lots of other natural treatments for depression, but one of the most popular is learning relaxation techniques, which also may include massages. One of the causes of depression is an overload of stress. Relaxation methods teach you how to take control of anxious thoughts and turn them around. People who are anxious and depressed often make their situation worse just because they don't know how to calm themselves. There's no proof this is true, but it certainly cannot hurt. If you want to avoid using medications or don't have time or money for traditional treatments for depression, you should investigate trying a natural cure for depression.